Hello everybody, this is me, Amin.
And this is Alex.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About. It is Friday the 2nd of December 2022. And 2 days ago, on Wednesday, the 30th of November, we went to the launch of the fastest EV charging station in the region. And it's located in Malaysia.
Yep.
So if you've been watching the show, I think we'll put like a link up in the YouTube video, or we'll put in the description. 6 to 7 months ago, sometime in May, in this show LTA, we talked about, me and Rory and I, we talked about the poor state of charging, EV charging infrastructure in the country. This was when we tested the Kona, the Hyundai Kona EV Max. We drove the car from Kuala Lumpur all the way up to Penang. We had to stop in Ipoh, and on the way back there was like a major drama going on where Rory and our producer Lovey almost ran out of battery power on the way back. They had to stop like multiple places, and along the way, this 800-kilometer route, right, we encountered so many problems. There were issues with the number of charging stations available. When we found charging stations, two things could happen. It was either hogged by a PHEV driver, like a hybrid car, plug-in hybrid car, or it's not working.
Or some could be restricted to certain brands.
And yes, it's limited to, like, let's say if it's a BMW, if the charger is located inside of a BMW dealership, even though the Charge EV application says that it's publicly accessible, the building management or the security guard won't let you in. So that threw all our route planning out of whack. The journey took much longer than expected, and during that period, we concluded that, there's still a long way to go in terms of charging infrastructure maturity in Malaysia, as well as the charging etiquette and mentality. Etiquette and mentality for EV and PHEV users in the country in general. So we said that, this is probably going to take another 1 or 2 years before it matures, and we caution prospective EV buyers that, okay, the product is good, but the infra is not there. We concluded that, the winner during that test was BMW, because most of its dealerships have EV chargers. And the reason why we are talking about this today in this episode is we want to look at how much that has changed in just 6 to 7 months. To a point where I am not worried anymore about finding an EV charger. There's definitely one somewhere. It's like looking for coins or Pokemon or something like that. You just open the app, either it's Charge EV or Plug Share, and you'll be able to find charging stations pretty much everywhere. So in today's episode, it's like, I think we're going to visit, like, is Malaysia now ready for EV charging? And there's this new company, right? It's called Gentari. It's obviously a subsidiary of Petronas. But what is Gentari? What are they doing? And we're gonna explore. We're gonna also share with you our experience with the fastest DC charging station in the region. We tested that out, and also we were invited by Gentari to also check out Malaysia's first dynamic EV charging stations in I think in the region as well. I'm not sure, but it's in the country. Yeah. And then also we're gonna talk about charging time-based charging versus kilowatt-hour based charging. So Gentari has also introduced kilowatt-hour based charging in selected charging stations. Obviously, one of them is this new 350 kilowatt charging station in Sunway.
Sunway Serene.
Yeah. Sunway. It's near
Sungai Way, the Western Digital Building? Yeah,
that factory there.
Yes.
Okay, so let's now start with, what do you want to start with? Gentari or?
I think we start with Gentari. I think before that, when we start this journey, right, last time the main player was Charge EV.
Just Charge EV. Plug Share. Not Plug Share.
Yes.
Was it Plug Share?
Park Easy.
Park Easy, yes.
Yeah, Park Easy, and then there's Charge EV, and then the network wasn't that extensive. It's growing, but not extensive. And there's also a couple of issues. Like, for example, when I think Park Easy and Shell, they launched a Shell Recharge, they have 180 kilowatt. That was pretty fast. But the issue was the cost. Everyone's complaining that, wow, it's super expensive. It's like 3 ringgit or 4 ringgit per minute to charge. And then, of course, everything's growing. And then I think one of the biggest new entry was Gentari. So Gentari is like a green energy company under Petronas. So they have been aggressively rolling out EV chargers, at least in Peninsular Malaysia, very aggressively. So they were launched in June 2022, and they've already deployed to date 117 charging points across 20 locations in Malaysia.
Wow.
133 charging points in India. And I think one of the biggest news before this was that they deployed like 27 chargers at Surya KLCC. That's the highest density of EV chargers in Malaysia. So that's huge. And then I think they have like, I don't know how many, I think 20 over AC chargers and I think at least four bays for DC charging at 30 kilowatts. So that was a big news. And then most recently, like we mentioned, they launched the first 350 kilowatt EV charger, which is super fast because previously the highest was 180 kilowatts. That's really fast, but this 350. And this fast charger, I think the only selected vehicles can take full advantage of it, particularly EVs that uses the 800-volt architecture system because that's more efficient. Because with high voltage, you have less current and it's more efficient that way. So there's only 3 cars right now in Malaysia can use it: the Porsche Taycan, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and also the Kia EV6.
Oh, no Teslas.
No Teslas, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Teslas, I think they can charge 200 over plus kilowatts.
Yeah.
They're not 800 volt, but at least can support 200 kilowatts. It's definitely faster than 180.
I think Gentari has moved in like, pardon the pun, but lightning speed.
Yep.
It's super fast.
Yep.
They were like unknown. I mean, we never heard of this brand before, and then suddenly they entered the market, and they are now like probably the number one in terms of the number of charging stations under Gentari, and also the types of charging station, like the power that they have. So I think they're the only ones that offer that is offering 350 kilowatts. And then to put in context, right? So you mentioned 24 charging stations in KLCC, right? 27 charging stations in KLCC. To put that into perspective, right? If you go to a mall, like a typical mall, right? You probably, if you're lucky, see maybe two charging stations. If you go to like BSC, there's probably like a lot more. That's part of BMW, and that's only for PEV, which is like super slow and not meant for EV vehicles. So 27 charging stations is more than 10 times the typical mall with charging stations.
Yep.
So just to put that into perspective. Now, we mentioned like a lot of numbers. So for those of you who are new to EV charging, right, let's just like give like a brief explainer of what these numbers mean. So battery capacity, which is, if you think of the battery as like the fuel tank of your electric vehicle, is measured in kilowatt hours. So if a fuel tank is measured in liters, like 70 liters, 80 liters, right? So a battery capacity is measured by kilowatt hours. So you can see like in general, if a car has a 50 kilowatt hour battery and another car has 70 kilowatt hour battery, generally the 70 kilowatt hour battery will be able to travel faster, accounting further and maybe faster, not accounting for efficiency and stuff like that. So the measurement of the potential energy in an electric vehicle is measured by kilowatt hours. Then you talk about kilowatts, right? So kilowatt is the amount of energy that can be replenished into the battery. So the larger the kilowatt,
the faster you can charge.
The faster you can charge the battery. And in this case, you need that speed. So because unlike a fuel internal combustion engine vehicle, you can probably top up 100 kilometers in less than 5 minutes, right? You can pump in like 10 liters in less than 5 minutes, or you can pump in like 50 liters, 60 liters in less than 5 minutes. Not a problem. So that would give you, if you're using a diesel engine, 60 liters, 70 liters could give you 1,000 kilometers. A car normally is 40 or 50 liters. That could give you 300 to 400 range in less than 10 minutes or 5 minutes, right? For EV vehicles, it's much slower than that. Even the fastest one, okay, probably comparable. So you're looking at, then we have the measurement of the fuel going in, right? So it's measured by kilowatt hours. Then we have two types of charging methods. We have the AC, alternating current, and we have the DC. So AC is the one that we use here in indoors in our house. All appliances use AC current because it's more safe and stable. But I think the power delivery is not as much, something like that, right? Then to go up another level, to charge cars faster, much faster, you have to then use DC, direct current, which is faster. It's more efficient. You can push in more power. And for that, you cannot do it at home because, again, like I said, your house is running on AC current, And so you need to go to industrial areas and stuff like that. So DC is typically only reserved for commercial stations. Unless you live in a bungalow or you have your own land and you want to call TNB and install a substation, then you can install a DC charger. So the question is, can you have DC charger at home? If you're super rich, you want to have your own substation, you can, because the infra itself, and if I'm not mistaken, the cost for you to set up a DC charging station, one DC charging station, is going to set you back about 600,000 ringgit. Number one, you need the land. Number two, you need the substation, the electricity substation, to be able to specifically supply power to the DC charging station. And then after that, you have to look into the DC charging station itself that can cost about 180 to 280,000. Then we have the kilowatt hour charging and the per minute charging, which is about like 1 ringgit 20 cent per minute or 1 ringgit 60 cents per minute,
or as high as 4 ringgit per minute
if you're on the highway, right? So that's a breakdown of like kilowatt hour, kilowatt, AC charging, and DC charging.
Yeah, and also just to elaborate further, like AC charging, right? The actual charging conversion is actually done in the car. So basically, it's like you have a cable plug in, and the conversion is like, imagine like you're charging your phone, right? So DC charging is similar to like how a phone charger works. The conversion is actually done on the power brick, and you just supply directly to the battery. So it's directly DC straight to your battery. No conversion. For AC, so that power adapter is actually built into your car. So AC goes to your phone, and then your phone actually has the adapter inside to convert to DC. To the battery. So that's the difference. So normally the limitation of AC and DC is also dependent on how much the car can support. So it doesn't mean that if you have a normal EV, like they say, I don't know,
I say a Volvo, okay,
or a Volvo or Mercedes or Aura Good Cat, you plug it to 350, you will get 350. No, it depends on your car as well, because as we mentioned, only a few cars with Android Vogue can support that higher speeds. So like for example, I think Mercedes and Volvo, I think the max is 150 kilowatts, and the Aura Good Cat is only 60 kilowatt. So imagine if you pay by time, right? You're paying so much more, but your charging is so much lower.
Okay, so we'll go back into that. Now, before we go into that detail, I just want to just put it out there that, I was, and I mentioned in my previous show in May where we talked about this issue, right? So I was really concerned about charging infrastructure in Malaysia. I think now with Gentari on board, and at the speed and rate that they are going, I feel that I don't think it's an issue anymore. I think they're partnering with the right people. I think they're also partnering with developers to make sure that housing developments also have charging stations. So if this rate is consistent or increasing, I think by the middle of next year there'll be charging stations everywhere.
Yeah.
What are the new things that we saw at this new charging station in Sunway Serene?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that these are not just charging stations, they're like charging hubs. Like not just one or two stations, but they have a lot. Like the Sunway Serene, how many? I think there's like
they have 8 bays.
8 bays.
They have 8 charging nozzles, but 9 bays. Yeah, 9 bays. So
it's a combination, right? It's like a supermarket of chargers. So you have 350 kilowatts.
350 kilowatts.
And then 280 kilowatts.
280 kilowatts.
And then the rest are AC chargers. You have 22 kilowatt AC chargers.
Yes.
And also a 7 kilowatt
like the slower
AC chargers.
ones for PEVs. So they are catering for the whole thing. Oh, and then in the explainer, I forgot to mention. So what are the difference between plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, the PEVs, like the BMW X5s, the Volvo XC90, those are some of them you see plugged in, right? Mostly you see BMWs plugged in.
Yep.
And then you have battery electric vehicles, so BEVs we call them, or EVs.
Pure electric cars.
Yeah. In short, right?
Yep.
So the difference is with plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, they have a normal car engine. That is the primary method of powering the car. The battery and the motor is actually secondary, and their range is, I think at most is about 70 kilometers.
If you're lucky, I think mostly 50 or less.
Yes, at car park speeds, at probably like 35, 40 kilometers per hour. That means they have very small batteries. And when they have, I'm talking less than 50, maybe 10, 20 kilowatts, like very small batteries compared to...
I think smaller than 20, dude.
Yeah, compared to electric
EV,
vehicles,
yes.
right? So they don't need so much power. And the batteries cannot even take that power. Even the electric componentry and infrastructure within the vehicle itself is not able to take 350 kilowatts or 180 kilowatts. They're not able to take that. And the problem is, if you start plugging in 3.5 kilowatts into a pure electric vehicles, it's going to take maybe 12, 13 hours to fully charge the car, number one.
Longer than that. Okay, 30 over hours.
Yeah. And number two, it's going to damage the battery. So batteries, right, they don't like super slow charging and they don't like super fast charging. So if you want to take care of your battery, you got to make sure that use super fast charging sparingly and charge it at the nominal rate, which is about 11 kilowatts.
7 to 11, that's the safer zone.
Yeah. So the biggest innovation now is this 350 kilowatts. If you have the right vehicle that can charge your car from 20%, 10%, all the way to 80% in just maybe less than 20 minutes.
18 minutes, according to Hyundai and Kia.
And for me, that's like a game changer, because if you're traveling outstation and you're going to park at a petrol station, you're probably going to take that much time pumping fuel into your car. So it is comparable to pumping fuel in your car.
And not just that, because like, especially in R&Rs, right? You go pump petrol, what else you do? You go get maybe drinks, you go to have a toilet break.
Yep.
So you probably spend about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's just about nice, right?
Yeah, by the time that's done, your car is ready to go for the next leg of your journey.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, kudos to what Gentari is doing. My only problem is that the charging locations are a bit weird lah. So like I said, right? So the region's most powerful, fastest charging station is located in this obscure place called Sunway Serene. And I've only ever been there once, and that was during the launch of the charging station itself. So I'm not sure whether that's a nominal high traffic area for them to be able to test the feasibility or the output or the extensivity of this charging infrastructure. What they should do is, and I did ask this during the event, the Gentari people, why not retrofit whatever that they have, the latest technology that they have onto highways, where you see much more vehicle traffic, where you see the likelihood of getting a high number of EVs looking for charging stations is very strong. It's very high there. Yep. I didn't get like a straight. I mean, I got an answer, but I don't think it's convincing lah. They say that it's in the pipeline. I didn't get like a timeline or anything or an outlook on when the cars when charging stations along the plus highways will get all this new technology. So speaking of new technology, we were also invited by Gentari to go check out this new charging station. It's the brand is called Campower, and it's a dynamic charging station, right? So what is a dynamic charging station, and why do we need it?
Yeah, so unlike the typical charger, so let's say you have one charging station. So let's say this 180, and another station is 180, another one is 350 kilowatts. So you need to have dedicated power for each of them, and that can be hard to manage. And also another issue is that, let's say, for example, if you're in a hurry, right, I need to charge fast, and I'll be queuing up for the faster charger, and the rest are not occupied. Yep. So how this Campower is designed is it's a very modular kind of design. So you have like a cabinet, so that has the total power output. So it's specifically in Bangi Golf Club. So that EV hub, they have a cabinet that's 200 kilowatts. That's connected to 4 different nozzles. And this 200 kilowatt will be shared dynamically. It's something similar to like our gun chargers.
Like a multi-port charger that you have in on your desk, for example.
Yeah,
right?
the gun charger. So like say you have one for laptop, one for phone, one for tablet. So it distribute the power accordingly. According to
the demand.
Yeah,
right.
But this is smarter than the ports, because like for gun chargers, right, usually this port only can do 120, this port 120, the other one's maybe 60, right? So for how this Campower charger works is that it's based on demand, first come first serve basis. So imagine there are 4 different nozzles. Yep. First car comes in, he get the maximum 120 kilowatt charging. Second car comes in, you get 60, and third car comes in is 20. So that's how you get 200 kilowatt. Yep. And the moment the first car finishes charging, or when the power starts to dip, then the extra power will be transferred to the next available vehicle.
The next available vehicle with the lowest state of charge, maybe, or like the demand, right?
In queue, yeah.
I mean, because the way I saw it is like this. So let's say there are 3 cars, right? They come in. So one car is probably 20% state of charge. Another car is maybe 50%, and another car is maybe 40%, right? So after the 20% is finished, the most power will go to the vehicle that is asking for more power.
From what I understand, I think it depends on how they want to configure. Because from what Gentari said is that it's configured based on first come first serve basis. So the next car will get the priority to get the maximum power.
It could be that, but I don't know. I read somewhere that it's smart in that way that okay, let's say the next vehicle that has the least state of charge, but is not, for example, is requiring the most power, that will then get the most power rather than the car that came in second.
Okay, so it means the last car comes in with 0%, he will get more charge first, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
To bring it up because again, with charging, right, the lower the battery state of charge is, the faster the power
speed.
the faster the rate of charging is.
Yep.
So let's say if you come in and your battery is at 20% and I come in and my battery is 50% and we plug into the same charger with the same power output, you will get more power because your car tells the charger, hey, my state of charge is as such and I can take this much. And the charger will give you that much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And that's the thing about charging as well, which I think we need to elaborate because unlike pumping petrol, because pumping petrol, the fuel goes in constantly in the same rate, right? Electric charging, right, it actually varies depending on the state of charge.
Yep.
So normally the fastest rating charge, they say, can charge 220, 230. That's normally within the first 50%. Out of that, start tapering down.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons why when we comes to time-based charging, right, we always recommend do not charge more than 80% because you see other people try EV first time. They say, hey, my EV charging cost me like $150, $200 because normally from getting from 20 to 80% is pretty quick. Maybe with 180 kilowatt charger can do it half an hour, 30 minutes. But for the final 20%, you probably take another 30 or 40 minutes to complete the final charge. So it's not worth it. So what you say it makes sense. I mean, like, you better give the high priority for those with low state of charge.
Yeah. So during the Gentari demo, Camp Power demo at the Bangi Golf Resort, right, they also showed us that the Camp Power units are able to monitor the energy consumption
and the charge curve.
Yes, the charge curve. So by that, I theorize that the system is able to decide which cars need more power and will provide that power. Once the requirements taper off, it will then give it to the next one that requires. So it's based on demand rather than time.
Yeah.
I think that's more smarter than time lah.
Yeah, and which brings us to the next point is that the charge per kilowatt.
So there are 3 innovations that Gentari brought on Wednesday during our visit to their charging stations. So number 1 is of course the 350 kilowatt fastest charging station in the region. Number 2 is this Camp Power dynamic charging stations that's being tested in Bangi. And then number 3, which is I think is actually quite good lah, is no longer charging based on time but charging based on kilowatt hour. Basically is you are now charging for what you actually use rather than time. So you want to break that down a bit?
Yeah, because part of this, because AP was saying that no one else can charge electricity except for Tenaga Nasional because apparently it's a legal framework, the regulatory requirement. But recently, the Energy Commission, the Suruhanjaya Tenaga, they introduced this EVCS license, electric vehicle charging system license. So from what I've seen in the document, it's about safety. So you want to be certified EVCS.
It's about standards, making sure that it's safe and stuff like that.
And then it's safe, and then the charging station must be properly labeled. Okay, this how many kilowatt, which is something that's lacking in other chargers. And surprisingly, on the day of the launch, they revealed that with this license, they are able to charge based on kilowatt hour, which is a major breakthrough.
Yeah, so that means it's like this, right? So again, if I'm using petrol station as an analogy here. So let's say you go to a petrol station and you pay 50 ringgit or 10. Let's say you go to a petrol station, you pay 10 ringgit. With 10 ringgit, you get 5 minutes, and you can quickly fill in as much as you can within 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then the clock starts when you stop your engine.
Yep.
So imagine, right? You go into the petrol station, petrol pump there. You park. You kill your engine. The clock starts. You open the door. You fumble the key. You try to open the fuel flap. You try to choose which petrol you want. You put it in, and then by the time's up, you probably get 1 or 2 liters. In 5 minutes. So it's not the word that Gentari used in their press release was equitable. Basically, it's not fair lah. You are paying for the time rather than the actuality of using it.
Yeah, I think this more apparent with Park Easy's implementation. So essentially, you're not paying for the charger, you're paying for the parking spot.
Yeah.
And then the parking spot, the time starts when the whatever barrier,
When the barrier goes down. Yep.
So you need to reverse in.
Park it in, take out your cable. If the unit doesn't have a cable, you gotta take out your cable. You gotta look at your cable heads. Which one's female? Which one's male?
Yeah.
You gotta plug it in. By the time you plug it in, you gotta make sure that the charging is correct. You gotta make sure whether the unit is working or not. There's so many things, right? So, okay. The other thing is, if you're an EV user, when you start charging, right? Okay. I mean, we'll tell you honestly, it's not. I don't want to say it's complicated, because it's not actually, but it's not as straightforward as pumping petrol.
Yeah.
If you have a charging station that doesn't have a cable, you gotta take your cable. So usually when you buy a EV car, they will supply a cable for you. So once you take the cable has a female and a male thing. So this is not a problem if it's clearly marked. But most of the cables that I've seen, it's not marked.
Yep.
So you have to take out the rubber protector flap thing and then look at the thing and then plug the female one, I think, or plug one end to the charging station and then plug one end to the car. Once that's done, the car will have to talk to the charger to say, okay, this is my state of charge or how much power I need, blah blah blah, and then only the
Charging starts.
Charging jalan, right? So in my experience, this pay by time. Pay per minute concept, right? You lose about 3 to 4 minutes, because every time I charge for 30 minutes, I will probably get 28 minutes of like charging. So it's not fair.
And it also takes time to spool up to start charging.
Yeah. To get up to speed, right?
Yes.
So charging by time for DC charging is I don't know, it's not fair lah, because what happens is let's say if the DC charger can give you 350 kilowatts, right? You're not gonna get that full power the time you plug in.
Yeah.
The battery has to warm up or condition itself. The car has to be ready to accept that power, and then it takes 1 or 2 minutes for that to happen. Only then you get the full power, and then after that it tapers off to maybe 100 or less, 100 kilowatts or less. So if you're paying by time, you're not utilizing your time fully lah.
This reminds me of the good old days. Remember back then, dial-up internet, you pay by minute, right? Like 2.5 cents per minute. So let's say you open a web browser, you're just reading some news on a website, right? You're not using data, but the time is still ticking.
Yes.
Versus today, you surf internet on your phone, you pay per gigabyte. I pay 1 gig. I can use 1 gig in 1 day or 1 hour or even 1 whole month. So it's up to me how I want to use.
Yeah, I think the problem, and that's a good analogy, because the problem was before when dial-up was charging based on time, was because they cannot measure the data packets. It was all analog. It was like, okay, I don't know how much data is going through.
You call in, you start by minute.
I can only provide the maximum data, and it depends on like the modem lah, the whatever lah. But if you have the best equipment, you get the maximum data. But I don't know how much is that. I can only charge you by minute, and it's the same thing here. But the problem is, it's not because they don't know how much power is going into the car. They just, because of regulations and law, cannot charge for electricity. Now with this license, they can, and it's great. I think this is like a really huge step for EV adoption in the country. I know Gentari is doing a lot of good things, but yeah, one big bugbear I have is this location lah. Like probably the most advanced charging stations in the country is located somewhere very obscure at a golf resort in Bangi.
Yeah, there's two ways looking at this. Like, okay, number one, maybe it's because for a start, maybe these places are easier to acquire in terms of getting the site, getting the substation in, and also to get the permits, everything done. And also another thing I see is perhaps maybe it's a good idea not to put these chargers at very convenient places, because it might be hogged by everyone. Okay,
the thing is, you're talking about like acquiring new sites, and I can understand that. So they will acquire the easier sites, make sure that charging stations are out there. They have like how many X amount of charging stations to deploy, and they deploy and it's done. I'm okay with that. But my question to the Gentari people during our visit was, why not take these camp power units and retrofit them on highways where Gentari has stations already? They are also deploying new stations. They have one in Air Hitam. They have a few up north, a few down south. So why not take the camp power units and deploy them there?
Oh, they did explain though, because eventually that's the plan. They want to put more of these fast charging stations there.
The dynamic ones.
The not dynamics, like 180 or 350. They would plan to deploy more of these because, like we said, it makes more sense because that's where you want to go in, quickly charge and go.
Charge and go.
Yeah, you're not going to stay there for 1 hour whatsoever. I think the issue was like regulatory issues, red tapes, because you want to build in RNRs. What they told us is that the substations there is not enough to support. To support fast chargings, right? They need a charging station. A substation that's like 2.5 times the capacity of the existing substation. So they need to upgrade that. And
it's equivalent to like a substation for a 350 kilowatt hour fast charger can supply power to 2.5 petrol stations.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's one thing. But I'm saying like, okay, the camp power 200 kilowatts, right? So, and it's dynamic. You can have 180 and it can deliver 60 if it wants to, right? So I'm saying the stations where you already have DC 60 kilowatts or whatever, right? Why not put camp power there? Because by the nature of the technology itself, it's already going to be able to charge cars faster because it's more efficient and it segments by demand.
And also by design, right? If you think about it, the camp power solution is practically like a petrol station. It's like, you know how petrol stations is set up, right? They have one big tanky underneath to have all the petrol, and you have all the pumps basically connected to the same power source.
Yes,
so it's a similar concept. So yeah, you're right. This looks more like a petrol station setup.
So I didn't get a right answer, but not the right answer, but I didn't get a clear answer. So what I could gather from that is I think the camp power units are super expensive. And they just rolled out the camp power units in Bangi. So they're like, okay, we're going to test this first and see how it goes. But again, the thing is, they're testing it at a golf resort in Bangi. I don't know. I mean, okay, I know some EV owners are rich and probably have a membership there. But the thing is, if I wanted to test it, if it was me doing a test, I would want to load test it in a
high traffic
area as much as possible in a real life situation as possible.
Yeah, and then another thing we talk about, right? DC charging, right now the technology of DC charging is super quick, so it makes more sense to put in places that people go and come and go. If you're going to put in a place that you're going to spend hours, like a golf course, I'm pretty sure you're going to spend hours.
Better use AC.
Use AC. AC makes more sense. Like shopping malls, actually AC makes better sense.
Correct.
To have more AC than have a few DCs because you're going to spend hours.
Yeah, we talked that. So that brings us to charging etiquette, right? So coming back to charging locations, and the strategy should be DC charging locations. The density of DC charging stations should be along highways where people just want to come, stop, and charge and go like really quickly, 30 minutes, 45 minutes max, because there's no point charging DC for 1 hour. You don't need that. It doesn't take that long to top up your car to 80%, 90%. So your point is, why should we have DC charging stations in places where people hang out? So like 350 kilowatts, right? They have it at X Park, where there's a go-kart and there's a go-kart track and there's makan-makan places there where people just hang out. And then you would think, well, it's okay, we just plug it in, let it charge, because the car will stop charging once the battery is full. You're right, but the problem is people need DC charging for quick charges to top up. So having your car plugged in for longer than necessary to charge the battery is a big etiquette no-no when you have EV vehicles.
Yeah. Imagine like someone from Johor want to drive to Penang, he needs to make a pit stop in KL. Okay, I'm going to charge at this 350 kilowatt charger for the mid stop. And he went there like, oh my God, why are all these cars hogging the charging stations?
Yeah, the worst case scenario is I stop at X Park there to utilize the 350 kilowatt charging station. I have a car that's compatible with that rate, so probably a Kia EV6, for example. And I go there and I see the charging stations being utilized by I don't know, XC90 or XC40 or Aura Good Cat.
Yeah,
I'll be furious. I'm like, you're not able, when there is 60 watt or 180 kilowatt chargers perfectly accessible there. It's not to say that, okay, my car needs the capacity, but hey, if your car cannot fully utilize that the facility's power, use the charger that's designed for your car.
Yeah, it's cheaper too.
Yeah, so that's the one etiquette issue that a lot of Malaysians have. I think I have nothing against PEV owners or whatever, but from my experience, right, when I go to malls, like Lalaport, I go to certain other malls, you see perfectly fine 11 kilowatt chargers, 22 kilowatt chargers. That's for EV vehicles, right? And I see a PEV plugged in there for like a couple of hours. It's not nice lah.
Yeah, even like when I was tried the Gentari charger at KLCC.
Yeah.
So during the free period, they actually allowed 60 kilowatts. So when we park there, I want to go up to the supermarket to buy some stuff, right, for a test. I feel stressed. Like, oh crap, it's going to finish 10 minutes soon. I need to rush down to unplug it because just in case someone else wants to charge it.
Yeah, that's a good point also. So there's no point having like a DC charger in a mall, because once you park your car in a mall, you're probably going to be there for like a couple of hours. And if it's going to be there for a couple of hours, it's better for you to use AC charging, because like I said, you're not going to charge DC for 2 hours with the current battery capacities that you have. Like I said, the rate, even if you're not using 350 kilowatts, let's say if you're using only like 60 kilowatts, right? For you to get from 10% to 80% is going to probably take you maybe like 45 minutes, less than an hour lah, I think.
Yeah, also another thing about the cost, right? So since we mentioned the numbers, right? So a lot of people are saying that, oh, EV is so expensive to charge and all that stuff. But actually with this kilowatt hour charging rate, it makes a whole lot of difference. It's so much cheaper. So just give an example. So when we're at X Park at Sunway Serene, we charge the EV6 from 50 to 90% using the 350 kilowatt charger. Obviously, it's not so efficient because the state of charge is already 50%. So we get the maximum of 170 kilowatt and it dips down to 63 kilowatts. So this charging took 15 minutes and it delivered 33.52 kilowatt of power. So with the kilowatt hour charging rate, that would cost us 40 ringgit, which is not bad because you get 200 kilometers range for 40 ringgit and you get it done within 15 minutes. If this was charged at 4 ringgit per minute, 4 times 15, that's 60 ringgit. That's 20 ringgit extra if you use the per minute rating. So that's very clear that this is so much cheaper and so much more efficient. And also, obviously, if you're not in a hurry, there are cheaper options out there to charge in public chargers. Like for example, if you get the 180 kilowatt, they charge 1 ringgit per kilowatt. That's still super cheap. And if you're not in a hurry, like for example in a shopping mall, you want to plug it in for a few hours. Well, the charging rate for Gentari is 55 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you charge like from 50 to 90%, that's going to cost us like 46 ringgit.
Which is kind of comparable to what you're paying for petrol.
Yeah. Also, 46 ringgit is for full charge, 0 to 100%.
Yeah. Which is comparable. So because you have the convenience of just parking your car, plugging it in, going to watch a movie or going to makan, going to do your groceries. By the time you finish, your car is fully charged already.
Yeah, 46 ringgit for full charge.
Yeah, I think that's fine. It's just that I don't see, maybe the Gentari people or those who are watching this, they can enlighten me like why have DC chargers in shopping malls, for example? Because number one, you want to be a responsible EV users, right? So you don't want to. For me, kacau, it disturbs my shopping momentum, right? You're browsing, whatever. Suddenly, 30 minutes, I got to go down, unplug the car, move the car out of the bay. And I think that's not, that's what's the word I'm looking for? It's an inconvenience for me. I'd rather just plug it into an AC, okay lah, let it be there for 4 hours because I probably need 4 hours to charge it anyway.
Yeah, imagine if you go there with your family, DC charge, right? Yeah. Halfway through eating lunch, I need to go unplug the car.
Yeah. But that's not gonna happen because lah, we all will be like, okay, never mind, man, just eat whatever, it doesn't matter. So, but then you're gonna make it a hassle for other EV owners. Yeah, so that's not on lah. Okay, so in this episode, we covered a few things. Number one, what is Gentari? It's a subsidiary of Petronas for clean energy, blah, blah, blah. Number two is we checked out their 350 kilowatt hour fast charger, which is the fastest, most powerful DC charging station in the region, and it's available in Malaysia. Kudos to them for doing that. Number three is we also checked out probably the most advanced DC charging station in the country, which is the Camp Power charging station. It's also available. It's also in the region, right? The Camp Power one.
They couldn't confirm, but they can confirm it's first in Malaysia.
Yep. Okay, so that's that. And then we also did some numbers with regards to the kilowatt hour charging versus per minute charging. Kilowatt hour charging is obviously more equitable. AKA fair for users because you are paying for actually what you use rather than the time for you to use it. And that's pretty much it. The point I wanted to make is back in May, like 7 months ago, we were skeptical about not skeptical. We were worried that it's going to take so long for the charging infrastructure to grow and develop in the country. So the thing that I told everybody is that Malaysia was slow off the line to start EV adoption in the region, but I think we are now catching up really fast, and I think we are pretty much up there in terms of EV charging infrastructure. The thing that we didn't talk about just now, Alex, was also the commitment that Gentari put out. So they're going to deliver what,
9,000 charging points by 2026 in India and Malaysia.
So 9,000 charging points. Let's put that into perspective. Obviously, India is a large country. So we looked at the number of McDonald's outlets in Malaysia. Because you know why? Tell me, right? McDonald's is everywhere. You go any street corner, you go to you balik any kampung, right? You'll find a McDonald's there. So in Malaysia, there's how many McDonald's restaurants?
According to Wiki, it's 282.
So there's 282 McDonald's restaurants. So the Gentari has committed 9,000 charging stations for India and Malaysia. Obviously, India is a larger country, the second most populous country in the world, with a lot more people, a lot more space. They're probably going to get more charging stations. So let's say they get 8,000. Malaysia only get 1,000 charging stations. That is almost 5 times more than the number of McDonald's restaurants available in the country.
Yep.
I think it's enough to cover pretty much everywhere.
And I think I want to point out is that, if you use an EV, right, you don't have to really depend on these public chargers, because ideally you should have a charger at home, an AC charger. Because you think about it, right, if you have an EV and you have a charger at home, when the time you reach home, you just plug it in. The next morning when I want to start drive, you always have 100% charge or 80% charge, which is more than enough for the day. And you don't have to visit a charger ever at all unless you go for outstation drives.
Yeah, you're right. So I've been experimenting with my EV to not have a wall plug at home. I don't call them chargers because, like you pointed out, right, the car itself already has a charger built in. So I was thinking that, okay, I'm going to be able to just survive on DC charging when I need it. So I'll let the car drop to maybe 20% because there's a DC charger near my house. The charge is about 1 ringgit 60 cent. I don't have to pay for parking. So I usually top it up to like 30%. I top it up for 30 minutes and then I go. The thing with that is it's not as convenient. It requires a bit more planning. I guess this also applies to people who are staying in condominiums and don't have the ability to install their own charging, their own wall plugs or charging stations, or even the facility doesn't have that. So, like you rightly pointed out, having a charger at home is so convenient. So I can drive around 1 week, and when the car drops to 20%, I know by the time I reach home it's going to be 20 or 15%. All I do is just plug it in, leave it overnight. The next day it's ready to go. So easy. You don't have to go through an app to look for things. You don't have to pay for anything. So yeah, installing a wall unit at home is much better. I guess the thing is with the wall units at home is the cost. So the upfront cost is gonna set you back probably maybe 5,000 all the way to 9,000 depending on the brand and the capacity and all that stuff. So how much is 9,000 ringgit worth of petrol?
9,000 petrol. Okay, let's say 1 month you spend for $500. $500 of petrol, or 500 is really quite a lot. So 9,000 divided by 500, that's like 18 months.
Yeah, so 1 year. So you gotta you recoup that back in 1.5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's okay lah.
But also there's tax incentive also. I think as announced in the budget, you get tax rebate. I think 2005 for EV charging facilities. Yeah.
So that's why we also spoke about this, right? You only need DC chargers when you are going outstation, when you're going out of KL. Yeah. Around town, I don't think you will travel 400 kilometers a day lah, unless you drive Grab or something. So having an AC charger at home is always the best option. All right. Okay. So that's pretty much it. It's my reminder to tell you that we are also available on podcast. So if you want to listen to Let's Talk About and you want to know about EVs, you can listen to us on. You can just search for us on Let's Talk About. We're available on your favorite podcast platform. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know what you think of the show, what your charging experience is, and whether you're going to get an EV charger or not, EV vehicle or not. EV, because EV is electric vehicle already. Whether you're going to get an electric car or not. What do you think of the future? What do you think of Gentari? You have any questions about charging? Kilowatt hour, AC, DC? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to answer that for you. If you're listening to us on podcast and you also want to get into the conversation, drop us a voice note at
Let's talk about at soyachinchao.com.
and we're there as well. So we are looking forward to hear from you guys. So let us know what you think about the episode and about EV in general in the country. Okay, so this is me, Amin.
It's Alex.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.